freedom. And new revelations as Dean Laidley faces court, evidence he was using drugs in his AFL coaching years.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. We're finally on the road out of the coronavirus lockdown, with restrictions starting to ease in 30 hours. The first steps are tentative, but good news for families, and they pave the way for the AFL to revive its 2020 season. Laurel Irving, the new rules provide the green light for bigger groups inside and outside homes.
Yes, Mitch. Look, these aren't major changes, but they are cautious steps forward. We'll be allowed to have up to 5 visitors to our homes, and outside we'll be allowed to have gatherings of up to 10 people. Significantly, these changes won't do much to help our crippled economy. These are much more about catching up with loved ones and spending a bit more time outside. So Victoria's state of emergency has now been extended for another 3 weeks, and at that point these restrictions will be reviewed again. The silent state. For nearly 2 months, Victoria's most famous landmarks have been all but deserted. Now there's a road out, but it's slow.
This is an opportunity for a first step that is safe, cautious and appropriate.
In fact, the most cautious in the country, but it does offer some relief. From midnight tomorrow, you can have up to 5 visitors in your home at once.
It is not an invitation to be having a dinner party at every house every night. We have to use our common sense. We have to be proportionate.
And groups of 10 will be able to gather outside, meaning some sports training, boot camps and picnics are back on. Golf, fishing, hunting and hiking is now okay, but only in small, socially distant groups. Weddings can now have 10 guests and funerals 20, up to 30 outside. Auctions and home inspections are okay, up to groups of 10, but playgrounds, libraries, pools and camping are still ruled out. You can now go and see Grandma, but rethink the hug.
From a public health perspective, no handshakes, no hugs and kisses is the safest thing to do.
The opposition says the changes should have been made in time for Mother's Day.
There's nothing here that couldn't have been announced on Friday, and instead the Premier has just dug in and decided to wait until Monday.
The restrictions will be reviewed again in 3 weeks and the testing blitz will continue, but the figures are encouraging. Victoria recorded 7 new cases overnight and the Cedar Meats outbreak is now finally easing, with just 1 new case there. Over the past fortnight, 161,000 Victorians have been tested, and of the 141,000 analysed so far, just 30 were positive. And the government hopes letting us see loved ones will reduce scenes like these from the weekend.
Hopefully that sees less activity in shopping centres. That now gives to people an option they haven't had.
But we have to be careful. Hairdressers, funeral, wedding and auction organisers will have to collect contact details in case someone tests positive.
All of these easing of restrictions that we're seeing across the world is a great global experiment, and so it's appropriate to be cautious and safe about it.
Laurel Irving, 7 News.
Victorians are already starting to adapt to the new rules tonight. Blake Johnson has details. Blake, it's had an immediate impact for some.
Pete, personal trainers and fitness fans are gearing up already for our return to outdoor training, so places like the Tan are about to get even busier. Picnics, outdoor gatherings, weddings, even funerals are going to get bigger from Wednesday, but perhaps the most significant change will take place inside our homes. A Mother's Day at a distance was enough to bring some to tears.
Very hard.
One day later, the announcement that 5 guests are soon allowed over is a relief for many Victorian families.
Oh, absolutely super relieved. I think not just me, I think every grandparent in Victoria.
Nicola Macbeth's personal training business has been quiet of late.
Yeah, good, that's it.
But she's getting ready to again run boot camps. From Wednesday, outdoor gatherings can grow from 2 people to 10.
Yeah, stoked. It's been great doing the one-to-one PT thing. It's a little bit different to what I usually do, which is my group training.
Funerals can get bigger too. From a heartbreakingly small 10 people, it's doubled to 20 for inside services, 30 outdoors.
The most challenging thing that I've seen in my lifetime in the funeral industry, asking client families to pick 10 people to attend a loved one's funeral.
Weddings go from a maximum of 5 people to 10 guests plus the couple and celebrant. Auctions are also allowed 10 people, plus the staff required to run them. Hiking, fishing, hunting and golf are all back on, but outspoken golf fan Sam Newman still isn't happy.
The Premier says that you can play from midnight tomorrow night. What is that about? If you're going to let people play from midnight tomorrow night, why not let them play now?
Whenever Newman plays, he's unlikely to run into the Premier.
I have no plans to play golf this week or in May, I wouldn't think. I don't know what sort of welcome I'd get down the club anyway.
The leash on society isn't quite off, but it's certainly loosened a bit. Blake Johnson, 7 News.
And it's not all good news. This first phase eases the restrictions, but they don't ease the economic pain. There's no relief for the hospitality industry. Restaurants and cafes still forced to run makeshift operations to generate an income.
Richmond cafe Mr Coppin launched just 2 weeks before the shutdown, but today didn't deliver the good news they'd hoped.
I just need to be able to fill the place up.
Victorian dining rooms will stay empty as other states allow cafes and restaurants to reopen and seat up to 20 people.
If I've got to service 10 people sitting down, it means I've got to employ a full-time chef, I've got to employ a full-time waiter. It just wouldn't be viable.
That all or nothing attitude is shared by many. Vietnamese restaurant Co Shin in Richmond is staying afloat as a caterer for business.
I don't think it's going to hurt anyone if we do have 10 people or 20 people in here, if you can have 200 people in Bunnings.
Victoria has also broken away from the federal government's suggested first stage of relaxing lockdown laws by not reopening swimming pools. But in New South Wales and Queensland, for instance, from Friday, they will be open.
We're not other states. We face our own unique challenges.
Playgrounds, skate parks and outdoor gyms will also stay off limits despite hopes they would reopen. Camping is also still banned. Short stay accommodation too.
Airbnb will not be taking bookings. There will not be bookings at hotels and things of that nature.
But obviously, with the announcement today, it's come as a little bit of a shock. We were kind of hoping that it might be a bit better news.
But the biggest loser of all will be harder for the state government to restart. Our crippled economy. Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
Another major element missing from the first stage of the windback was a return to school. Face-to-face learning is still off limits, even though the Chief Health Officer says there's no issue to stop them going back to the classroom.
While children in Queensland and New South Wales are back at school today, not in Victoria. For most, it's still in the dining room rather than the classroom, even though the health boss has now ticked off on going back.
From a public health point of view, I don't have an issue with schools reopening.
The Premier confirmed there will be a staggered start, but hasn't settled on a date.
We have been doing a power of work and we're very close to finalising a plan to see face-to-face learning return before the end of term 2.
Children are not great with uncertainty. If you give them a date and you can tell them it's just another week, just one more week, and then we can start going back to school.
For many, the novelty of homeschooling has well and truly worn off.
I'm looking forward so I can get to see all my friends. It's really boring just sitting on your computer and not actually interacting with all the kids.
Once it's safe to do so, I think we'd all love to get back into our schools and do our jobs.
We might not know when classes will resume, but we do know there'll be new rules, including social distancing and possible temperature checks before entering the school gates. As for the long-awaited D-Day, it's hoped to be announced later this week.
They've got something to work for. They can actually see light at the end of the tunnel. We all can.
Tegan Dolling, 7 News.
AFL teams in this state have been given an exemption that allows them to resume full training from Wednesday. Let's go to Chief Football reporter Mark Stevens. Stevo, it means the Victorian clubs can train as full squads, but there's a catch.
That's right, Mitch. We're going to have to be very patient. The government's given the green light to Victorian clubs to start training. In effect now, we're the most footy-friendly state in Australia, but the others lag behind. In Western Australia, players still in quarantine until May 21. I believe there will be a compromise on that. But for now, we need to get as close as possible to a level playing field, so we wait. As players continued to go it alone or stay in pairs, the Premier delivered the words that kick-started AFL in 2020.
Training resuming paves the way for footy to be back, and I think we all want that.
Victorian clubs have been given a free kick ahead of the general public from Wednesday. Full body contact is allowed, there's no limit on numbers, as long as training is held in an exclusive facility.
Very positive news. We take all the good news we can at the moment, and it's like the fog is finally lifting and we're starting to see some blue sky.
But there's a catch. AFL training under the new rules won't start until there's an even playing field. WA players are in quarantine as long as May 21 and in SA until May 18 at the latest. So Victorian clubs face a wait, at the moment a status quo.
Clearly teams are subject to different regulations of their state, so the AFL will need to ensure we prepare and resume training on a level playing field.
A key blocker to the season restarting was not being able to train. Today we have removed that and then they'll be able to make announcements as they see fit.
Mark Stevens, 7 News.
A mother arrested during an anti-lockdown rally says she's received an outpouring of support. Renee Altacruity took her son to the protest in Sydney, where she was arrested and fined for breaching social distancing laws.
Why is she under arrest? Why is she under arrest?
Good morning all. I just wanted to do a quick post to say thank you so much for everyone's private messages of love and support.
Police are now investigating reports she's been illegally operating her cosmetic surgery business during the lockdown. Police have provided an extraordinary new insight into the Porsche driver at the centre of the freeway tragedy as they fought to keep him behind bars. They've told a court he spent 3 minutes filming one of the police officers as she lay dying when the former nurse could have been administering CPR.
A psychologist says Richard Pusey has fantasised about killing people, and police claim he boasted about speeding at 300 kilometres per hour on the Eastern Freeway. But his lawyer says he isn't a risk to the public. As Pusey sat flanked by guards and wearing a mask, prosecutors claimed he'd previously been kicked off a plane for calling an air hostess a fat cow, intimidated staff at a bank and threatened to drive a car down Burke Street in what police claim could have been a James Gargasoulis-style attack. Police concluded he takes a disturbing pleasure in causing others fear and discomfort. As for Pusey allegedly filming a dying officer, his lawyer said he may have been in shock and still traumatised. People react to trauma in different ways. The informant hit back. Yes, but they don't walk around filming and zooming in. His conduct in taking those videos and photos doesn't say shock. When asked what he should have been doing, police said he could be administering CPR. Well, you'd have to be trained in CPR. Police replied, your client is a registered nurse. Police say Richard Pusey lashes out when he doesn't get his own way. They worry if released, he'll launch a campaign of harassment and intimidation targeting witnesses. A decision on his freedom will be made on Thursday. Chanel Vella, 7 News.
There's breaking news coming in now. Dean Laidley has been released from jail on bail just minutes ago. Cameron Bowe is covering developments. Cameron, it's been revealed he had a drug habit that dates back to his AFL coaching days.
Dean Laidley's troubles are long-term. He's been battling drug addiction for at least 8 years. He now also has significant mental health issues. But Dean Laidley has made a dramatic release from custody here. High-level security was called in to escort the vehicle in which he was a backseat passenger as it left the Melbourne Assessment Prison. He's now on his way to rehab after being granted bail. In his own words, Dean Laidley has been self-sabotaging over the past 2 months. The court was told he needs help dealing with his sexual identity and a drug habit that began when he was an AFL assistant coach. 9 days ago, Laidley was arrested after allegedly stalking a person by taking photos of their home and car. The victim left petrified.
What he wants to do is just try to get some calm and peaceful time to sort himself out, to
and he's actually ashamed of where he is and what he's at, and he'd just like to be a much better person.
Photos of Laidley in custody while wearing a wig and women's clothing sparked a police scandal. 4 officers have been stood down over the leaking of the images. It's claimed Laidley was caught with a small amount of the drug ice hidden in a bra.
He's a good person, he's not a bad person. At the moment his main concern is his mental health.
The North Melbourne Life member drew on his footy connections as part of his application. The likes of Dennis Pagan, Mark Williams, Brent Harvey and Wayne Schwass provided character references.
He's lived in a cocoon for 30 years of his life. When people get out of that environment, they get a bit adrift, and in his case, he got sadly adrift.
Laidley was granted bail in order to go into rehab for drug addiction and mental health. The AFL Players Association has offered to cover the costs. Cameron Bowe, 7 News.
Jackie Felgate's here now with brighter news, and Jackie, footy's return is finally in sight.
That's exactly right, Mitch. And now it's how things play out interstate that's critical. We have the first reaction from West Coast coach Adam Simpson coming up soon. There will still be financial pain. We have new details on pay cuts inside footy departments, and the Crows punished for breaching isolation protocols. I'll see you very soon, Mitch.
Thank you, Jackie. See you then. Next, missing without a trace. Why there's new action to find Russell Hill and Carol Clay 7 weeks after they vanished. Tragedy strikes as a man steps off a tram. Also, Britain's new battle plan. Boris Johnson reveals how the UK is easing restrictions. And later, how to delay having to pay off your credit card bill. A special 7 News home finance report.
Seven News, brought to you by Industry Superfunds.
I suddenly realized we're all in this together.
That feels especially true, given what's going on. It is good to know that our super will help us and our economy bounce back. And if you're with one of these, your super is invested in things that create jobs and keep Aussie businesses strong, delivering good long-term returns that benefit all of us. After all,
we're all in this together.
I have been watching you, Matt.
I've lived in Broken Hill my whole life.
Bloody flies.
You got to sort of make your own fun a bit out here. Really got that community spirit.
I am Big Brother, and I've chosen you. Welcome to my brand new house.
I hope I'm a pretty likeable guy.
Let's hope you're ready for what I've got planned.
Big Brother, what are you playing at?
Who wins? You decide.
At Rapid Tune, we'll keep you moving with our range of services, from brakes, shocks, electricals and all your general mechanical repairs under the one roof.
We perform all the vehicle services that you need to protect your new car warranty, as well as any mechanical repairs. Every Rapid Tune outlet is also a licensed air conditioning specialist.
We stock a range of tyres from the best brands at competitive prices, as well as balancing and wheel alignments using the latest state-of-the-art equipment.
Book online today at rapidtune.com.au.
Rapid Tune, we'll keep you moving.
Hi, Peter. What can I get you?
Just some beef mince, please.
Just some beef mince. Tell me, was Bradman just a cricketer, Peter?
Don Bradman was the greatest.
I hear, Bill.
Did Kate just do a spot of telly?
And I suppose your mum Denise makes just a bolognese.
Peter, Mum. OK. I'll have some beef mince, please.
Great choice. Because
our beef's the greatest meat on
With Toyota Warranty Advantage covering you for at least 5 years. Still feeling it, Mick?
We're here to keep you moving forward. That's why our Toyota dealerships and service centres are still open. Older feeling. Toyota.
The Australian government is working hard to keep businesses in business and Australians in jobs. That's why we've introduced the JobKeeper payment. If you're a business severely impacted by the coronavirus, you'll receive a fortnightly payment of $1,500 for each eligible employee to cover their wages. For employees, it will allow millions of Australians to keep their job, including those who've been stood down. To find out more, visit australia.gov.au, authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
At Rapid Tune, we'll keep you moving with our range of services, from brakes, shocks to general repairs. We stock tyres from the best brands, are licensed air conditioning specialists and offer wheel alignments and servicing that'll protect your warranty. Rapid Tune, we'll keep you moving.
Tasty, affordable and delicious. What's for dinner in the next break with Coles?
We have new developments tonight over the mysterious disappearance of two campers in Victoria's high country. Live now to police reporter Cassie Zervos. And Cassie, you've got exclusive new details.
Well, Mitch, a month-long search has found no trace of Russell Hill and Carol Clay. The pair were last seen in March on a camping trip at Wanangata. Police have released this image to 7 News, which shows Mr Hill holding his drone, which he took with him on the camping trip. Now, that photo was taken a week before he disappeared with Ms Clay. That drone was missing from the campsite and remains missing. Mr Hill's wife admitted she had no idea the pair were going away together. Police did do a thorough search of their financial history and have ruled out any possibility that they could have faked their own deaths. An extensive search for the elderly couple will resume in the coming weeks. Police are now appealing for information and urge anyone who knows anything to come forward. Mitch.
Cassie Zervos at police headquarters, thank you. A man is fighting for life after he was hit by a car at Maribyrnong. He got off a tram on Rayleigh Road when he was hit. The driver stopped to help. The victim suffered critical head injuries and is being treated in the Royal Melbourne Hospital. Emergency services were called to rescue a man who'd fallen 15 metres into a hole at a St Kilda construction site. They found the 39-year-old with leg injuries at the bottom of the pit around 10 o'clock last night. Firefighters used a rope to pull him out and he was taken to hospital. Police are investigating why the man was at the site. Britain is also taking its first careful steps out of lockdown. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has given a national address warning the process will be extraordinarily slow and anything else would be madness.
After nearly 8 weeks in lockdown, Britain's Prime Minister put the UK on a path out. Not yet, but soon.
No, this is not the time simply to end the lockdown this week.
Millions of Britons watched a 14-minute explanation of what Boris Johnson called the first sketch of a roadmap to lift the lockdown, encouraging a return to work if necessary, but not to use public transport. And as Britain faces its worst economic downturn in 300 years, shops will stay shut until at least June, pubs until at least July.
This campaign against the virus has come at colossal cost to our way of life.
Officially, 4,000 people a day across Britain are testing positive to coronavirus, but government advisors have told the Prime Minister the real number is closer to 18,000 people a day still falling sick. And Boris Johnson's been warned if he lifts the lockdown too soon, 100,000 Britons could be dead from coronavirus by the end of the year. The Queen is reportedly taking special precautions, now staying at Windsor indefinitely, giving up her traditional summer holiday at Balmoral with public engagements cancelled to ride out what Boris Johnson says is a vicious threat to Britain. In London, Hugh Whitfield, 7 News.
Jane Bunn joins us now for an early look at the weather. And Jane, it became cloudy. Is there rain on the way?
Well, Mitch, the current cloud has more bark than bite. We are staying dry tonight, but rain does return late tomorrow night. This morning was lovely. Lots of sunshine and light winds. The air was crisp, but feeling nice in that sun. Cloud built this afternoon, looking a bit grey where it was thick, but it's not producing any wet weather. It was a chilly start, just 8 in the city. Then with the increasing cloud, it only reached a top of 17. Just 6 at first in most western suburbs, while parts of the east were as low as 5. Then Scoresby and Cranbourne only reached a top of 15. We're in the break between weather systems with a high overhead. But the next front isn't far away and we'll be feeling that one back over there around midnight tomorrow. I'll have more after sport, Pitch.
See you then, Jane. Thank you. Our shops are packed, even with restrictions in place. Next, the retail revival. Is this the biggest COVID-19 threat for Melbourne? The Premier answers your questions live. Also, the shock economic hit that's about to set an Australian record that no one wants. Armed and hungry US protesters fighting COVID-19 restrictions. And look at the new robotic frontline in policing social distancing.
People thought we were
absolutely bonkers. It was a bit of a snap decision on my part.
They never imagined their home would get a reaction like this.
Oh, I do like to be wowed.
Oh, wow.
Ridiculously sophisticated.
Oh, wow.
Let me have a look at your wow face.
Wow.
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 Wow. Wow factor.
But the real wow will be the scores.
It's a 9. A 9.
It's a 9.
We have joint leaders.
Wow. I
think we have wow.
Only one can win. Who will it be? On House Rules, tonight 7:30.
Michael Weldon here, back again with another What's for Dinner recipe. Today is my pork and prawn potsticker dumplings with a spicy dipping sauce. The first thing we need to do is make our filling. First of all, the white and light green part of some spring onions. And next I've got some coriander. Probably got 5 or 6 sprigs. Now we're going to use the leaves later on when we make the dressing. But for now we just want the little crunchy coriander stems. And we're going to slice our ginger nice and thin. Take out a few of our little matches of ginger, put them into a second bowl. That's the bowl for our dipping sauce. Then the rest of our ginger, we're going to chop the other way into nice fine little dice. Now we're going to go in with some garlic, some pork mince, and then we've got our prawns. I've just got the beautiful Aussie prawn tail meat, you get it cold, peeled for you already. And all we're going to do is roughly chop this. So I've got some sesame oil, white pepper, splash of soy sauce, little pinch of sea salt, pinch of sugar as well. Just mix this together to combine. All right, so I've got our little wonton wrappers here. Now this is the fun part, filling in the center, water on 2 of the edges, then fold together. And when you're folding, you want to push out all the air, then just pinch it together and fold it over. All right, so we've filled all of our dumplings. Now it's time to cook them. I'm just gonna spread the oil all over the bottom of that pan and then start filling up with our dumplings. So while our dumplings fry, we're gonna make a really quick dipping sauce. In this bowl, I've got some green beets and spring onion, and also that really finely sliced ginger from the start. Gonna add
Soy sauce, sesame oil, black vinegar,
teaspoon of sugar, and tablespoon of whatever your favourite chili oil is. Now if you have a look at that, you pick one up, you see that nice fried crispy base. That's exactly what we want to get our pot stickers to before we steam them. So we've fried them. Now the second part of the cooking is the steaming. So I'm going to pour over like a cup of water, then I'm going to chuck a lid on. Okay, so it's been a few minutes, so I'm going to turn the heat up our dumplings. These are ready to plate up, ready for us to eat. Top that with our dipping sauce over the top, a little bit of coriander. That is my recipe of pork and prawn dumplings, cooked pot sticker style with a spicy dipping sauce. For this recipe and many other What's for Dinner recipes, check out the Coles website. Guys, this is What's for Dinner. Happy eating.
There are concerns we could see a second wave in coronavirus cases as major stores reopen. The struggling retail industry has welcomed shoppers back, but it's causing alarm over the lack of social distancing.
Retailers are reopening and people are eager to shop, but experts warn it may be too soon.
It is frustrating because the last thing we want to happen is the number of cases increase a lot and then we just shut down again.
We're being told to only shop for essentials. Last month, that's what happened, turning Chadstone into a ghost town. But now more than half its stores have reopened.
You're really only meant to go there if you're going to buy something. So, and we're meant to still use all the same social distancing rules.
On Chapel Street, social distancing is difficult.
Lots of people hovering outside cafes getting coffee.
But retailers are adapting.
Just help yourself to the hand sanitizer. We've got hand sanitizer, we've obviously got sort of signs at the front of the store. We've got sneeze guards as well.
When restrictions started, shopping strips like this were a wasteland. But on the weekend, that all changed. Shoppers returned, giving retailers new hope they can bounce back.
It was completely dead. There was no one around at all. Now there's people everywhere. There's people walking around. It's hard to get a park again.
Louisa Cheatley, 7 News.
And Premier Daniel Andrews joins us now from Treasury Place. Good evening to you, Premier, and thanks for your time.
Very good to be with you, Peter.
Given the restrictions, why are shops that are obviously not providing essential services or food allowed to open?
Well, look, as part of the National Cabinet decision on things that would be closed, retail remained open. But again, the message is a very clear one to all Victorians. We've come a long way. We've achieved numbers that are the envy of the world. We have to be really careful not to give all that progress back. Go out to shop for the things you need when you need them. I think the changes we've made today, Peter, where you can have 5 family or friends come and visit you, that might take the place of some of that social, that urge to get out that I think is why we're seeing more and more people in Chadstone and other sort of shopping centre complexes. The most important thing is we have to stay the course. This is a small first step, but a significant one. We've got to be cautious. We have to be appropriate to the conditions we face, and we just can't give back all the good work. That makes no sense at all. So if people can just stay the course, keep following the rules in May, we'll have many more options in June.
As we saw earlier in the news, the Chief Health Officer says he doesn't have an issue with schools resuming. Isn't every day you delay now another day lost for our children?
No, we've got a lot to be thankful for. Parents, teachers, everyone's pitching in. We've got 97.5% of kids being educated at home. That's been critical to stopping the spread of this virus. If we had 1 million students moving around the community every day, hundreds of thousands of parents, tens of thousands of teachers and staff, then we wouldn't have the numbers that we can proudly point to now, numbers that so many other countries, they would swap with us in a heartbeat, Peter. We'll have more to say about getting kids back to face-to-face learning. It'll be staggered. It'll be a staged approach. We've always said that was our aim if we could do that safely, and with 161,000 tests done over the last 10 days, the Chief Health Officer, the government more broadly, are confident to begin that process. So we'll have more to say about that soon. I've got 3 kids at home myself, including one doing Year 12. It's not been easy, and I thank your viewers, I thank parents for the great contribution they've made in following the rules, keeping their kids at home where they could do that. It really is something that's central to the numbers that we can boast now.
And Premier, thanks for your time again tonight and all the best.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Economists are predicting the biggest budget deficit in Australian history, more than $140 billion. The COVID-19 crisis adding to the country's worrying financial woes after the summer's devastating bushfires. We seem to be having a technical problem with that one. We apologise. We'll move on. In the United States, the coronavirus death toll has hit 80,000, but that hasn't stopped protesters from demanding freedom, parading weapons in the streets of North Carolina. While in Washington, Vice President Mike Pence is now in voluntary self-isolation after a member of his staff tested positive. A 4-legged robot named Spot is proving a big help in the pandemic fight. In Singapore, he's helping police social distancing rules, and now he's arrived in Australia ready for jobs considered too dirty or dangerous for humans.
Marching onto Optus Stadium, not designed as competitors, but teammates.
This technology is much more like Iron Man, less Terminator.
Meet Spot, a customisable robot dog and, like man's best friend,
it can basically go wherever humans go.
Think defence, policing, energy, mining, even medical.
We can actually fit a module on top which enables medical professionals to manage some issues around coronavirus.
Police are using drones to monitor social distancing. Singapore is using Spot.
Please stand at least 1 metre apart.
Outside a pandemic, it's delegated the dirty work.
We want to get rid of all of the dull, dirty, dangerous activities that are out there in society.
The robots are designed so anyone can control them. They can be programmed to follow this, obey voice commands on any device, or remotely over thousands of kilometres. So I can be here in Perth controlling a robot in the United States. The Department of Defence is on board. Police have yet to show interest. It's not perfect, but Spot's here. It's ready. The question is, are we? Cyan Doherty, 7 News.
Returning now to our story on the biggest budget deficit in Australian history, more than $140 billion. Here's political editor Mark Riley.
The fires may be out, but the challenges are still smouldering.
The impact of those bushfires was absolutely devastating.
Sending another $650 million in recovery funds to rebuild communities.
It's a locally led recovery, not a Canberra-led recovery, and we will be building back better.
A theme Labor leader Anthony Albanese also wants to guide the recovery from the coronavirus crisis.
A once-in-a-generation chance to reshape our economy.
Reshape and rebalance, arguing that those who have the least have suffered the most.
The broadest burden has been put on the narrowest shoulders.
Committing Labor to winding back the casualisation of the workforce and reviving manufacturing, as Deloitte Access Economics predicts budget deficits peaking at $143 billion this year and falling to $33 billion within 3 years.
People worry about those big deficits. They're good news, right? That's the budget taking care of families.
Treasury is planning to review the largest of those supports, the $130 billion JobKeeper scheme, but Scott Morrison says there are no plans to cut it or shut it down early.
All of this is very premature. We are 6 weeks into a 6-month program.
Treasurer Josh Frydenberg will deliver an economic update on that program when Parliament returns tomorrow, the traditional budget lock-up day, instead focusing on the coronavirus lockdown. Mark Riley, 7 News.
Still to come tonight, see a police officer's remarkable escape after being run down and left badly hurt. A new world first test for a common cancer. Naked ambition and acclaimed photographers call to those in quarantine. And credit card breathing room, the best no-interest deals to get back on track.
Who is that anyway?
I don't know. He's a bit of a troublemaker.
Tonight, look who lands in the bay.
He brings trouble.
Here's your brother.
Tane's caught up in a life when it landed me in jail and my brother Ted.
Better get used to seeing me around.
Home and Away, next on 7.
Here's to the quitters. He's a quitter. So is she. And her. That's right. They, along with thousands of other Australians, have quit smoking thanks to the help of Nicorette Quick Mist. It starts to relieve cravings from 30 seconds, making you 2.5 times more likely to quit. Let's do something amazing. Get Nicorette Quick Mist for a great price at Chemist Warehouse.
At Rapid Tune, we'll keep you moving with our range of services, from brakes, shocks to general repairs. We stock tyres from the best brands, are licensed air conditioning specialists, and offer wheel alignments and servicing that'll protect your warranty. Rapid Tune, we'll keep you moving.
Omtanke isn't just a word. It's a new perspective, a considerate, more caring one. Omtanke, we welcome you to try it. Volvo.
Wow, this really is an MS Dream Home Lottery. Wait, how many come in the grand prize?
Token.
And that explains the toucan in the kitchen. Get your tickets today.
There's a glass and a half in everyone.
At Rapid Tune, we'll keep you moving with our range of services, from brakes, shocks to general repairs. We stock tyres from the best brands, are licensed air conditioning specialists, and offer wheel alignments and servicing that'll protect your warranty. Rapid Tune, we'll keep you moving.
At UE, we're all about how you use or don't use your car. So we're giving our clients and new clients temporary relief on their car insurance premiums if they're using their cars less right now. Go to UE.com.au. UE, you insured.
Hi, Chris. As one of our Care Super members, let's go see your super at work. Hold on. I'll show you some of the opportunities and possibilities that are being explored for you. Your super should work as hard as you do, so we're making sure it does.
Shocking body cam footage has been released of the moment a police officer was run over by an unlicensed driver fleeing a breath test. It happened in Adelaide on New Year's Day last year.
Go! Get a flea! Get a flea! You drag me off the road, Mick.
The constable was dragged along the road and suffered serious injuries. Police arrested the 24-year-old driver the following day. One of Australia's most prominent union leaders has died. Jack Mundy is being remembered as a union giant who helped save Sydney's historic Rocks precinct from the wrecking ball. The environmental activist took on developers in the 1970s as part of the Green Bans movement. Mr Mundy died aged 90. Australian researchers have made a world-first discovery in detecting what was once undetectable throat cancer. The exciting breakthrough is already saving lives.
This young doctor detected what an MRI couldn't: throat cancer, so small, so early, using only saliva.
This is really exciting.
I'll remember that moment forever.
The man was part of a trial by biomedical scientists at QUT, one of 630 healthy, cancer-free people who gave a saliva sample every 6 months. Researchers measured levels of the cancer-causing human papillovirus, and his levels were rising. He had no pain, no symptoms, just irregular tonsils. He had them out.
The ENT surgeon, he asked me, come to Royal Brisbane right now.
They'd found a tiny cancer.
He actually came and hugged me and he said I saved his life.
An immediate survivor of a disease he didn't know he had because of a trial by a 30-year-old researcher.
Yeah, I told my parents definitely.
We need the numbers to prove that it works effectively in the population.
They've now applied for financial help to fund a new trial. Less than $1 million is needed. It's the same price as treating 4 people for head and neck cancer. More people now have it than cervical cancer.
It saved the health system so much money.
They're still testing and tracking trial participants in their own time. Erin Edwards, 7 News.
An artist is taking a unique snapshot of this moment in our history. Spencer Tunick has famously photographed thousands of naked people on Chapel Street and the steps of the Sydney Opera House. Now he's recruiting Australians for an online isolation project.
I will orchestrate people into different positions the same way that I've done it in public space, but we're all quarantined.
Anyone keen to volunteer to pose nude at home can send Spencer Tunick an email. It's that simple, if that floats your boat. Credit cards are often seen as a debt trap, but they've become a lifeline for some Australians who are struggling to make ends meet during the pandemic. Some customers have found a balance transfer offers breathing space when they couldn't otherwise pay their bills. We'll have expert advice on finding the right deal after sport. Which is coming up next with Jackie Felgate. And Jackie, footy's edging closer.
That's right, Mitch. Yes, you can, but there are still plenty of roadblocks. We'll tell you what they are next. Will the Eagles hold up the rest of the league's plans? Exclusive details. Also, drastic pay cuts looming for coaches. The Crows' punishment handed down, a coach suspended over isolation breaches. And the Albury experiment is over. We'll tell you why the Storm is heading home.
It's gonna knock you off your feet.
Tiger King shocked the world, but you only heard half the story.
Pair of snitches.
The key players uncensored.
Wish I could have done more, Tim.
Shocking footage exposed. Our burning questions answered.
He was killed.
The exclusive Tiger King. What really went down?
Shh.
Tuesday, 7:30, only on 7.
The power's in your hands and at your feet. The BMW 320i sedan from 69,900 drive away. Joy is coming.
If you're a small business, you've probably got a lot of questions right now, which is why you should speak to a professional accountant who's trained in planning and cash flow management strategies. For further support, contact a professional accountant today.
Low GI for longer lasting energy. Wonder Active. Play on.
Rise and shine, blender. Because NAB Rewards gives me discounts on hundreds of everyday items and experiences. Items like you.
Join NIB today. It's worth it.
Thank you, Victoria.
For keeping your distance and for keeping your cool.
For facing this with courage.
And talking face to face every day.
For telling your workmates you're on mute.
And your neighbours, you're there for them.
Thanks for staying in and helping out. Because it's working.
But we can't stop now. There's still a way to go.
And staying apart keeps us together.
To help keep us together, visit vic.gov.au/coronavirus. Authorised by the Victorian Government, Melbourne.
At ANZ, we're here to help you get on top of your money. So if you need a hand banking from home, support through the ups and downs of business, or to ease the pressures of your home loan, we're here and ready to help.
Woolworths online shopping is back for all customers. We have thousands of extra delivery and pickup windows now open to serve even more customers. Visit woolworths.com.au and start shopping today.
A ticket in the MS Dream Home Lottery is more than a chance to win one of two $1.5 million grand prizes. Every ticket sold helps us support thousands of Victorians living with multiple sclerosis. People like Lydia.
Through MS Limited, I access NDIS support. That just gave me the freedom to not worry about it. It was great.
You too can make a difference. Get your tickets today.
Welcome back. The AFL is working towards restarting its season within weeks, but it's not going to come without compromise and pain. Mark Stevens and Tom Brown both have new developments tonight. Steve, let's start with you. We know WA is one of the real sticking points at the moment, and you've got some breaking news.
Yes, I have, Jackie. Fresh hope tonight that we could be back training. That's all clubs next Monday. So quarantine, of course, has been a real sticking point, particularly in Western Australia. Some players in Perth, Eagles players, locked away in quarantine until May 21. So that's Thursday next week. That's obviously too long for the AFL. Eagles coach Adam Simpson's just spoken to 7 News. A concession's coming. Simpson indicating the Eagles would be prepared to allow rival clubs and the Eagles themselves to start training while some of those players remain in quarantine. So a breakthrough is looming.
5 players in quarantine. I think Fremantle have got 10. So, look, I think we'd be willing to waiver a couple of days so we can get going. There's no point shouting from the rooftop. We just got to find out what the situation is, and then once it gets declared, we can work through it and throw the toys out of the cot later on.
Now, the AFL is still working through this. We're not expecting anything official tomorrow. Perhaps Wednesday, finally, Jackie, the road map out of this.
Thank you, Steve. We're going to go live now to Tom Brown. And Tom, you have exclusive details tonight suggesting senior coaches could be on a collision course with the AFL over drastic pay cuts.
Jack, that's right. Many senior coaches like Chris Scott and Alistair Clarkson generously have already taken cuts with footy off. But when footy gets back, it doesn't look like they'll get their normal money returned to the status quo. Clubs will have a limit on how much money they can spend on their football departments. Also a cap on how many staff they can have in footy. Now, the Pies or Richmond typically, for example, have more than 50 staff in football. When footy comes back, I'm told it may only be 20 or 25 staff in football departments. The Commission was deciding that number today. Coaches, assistant coaches, development coaches, fitness staff, clubs will have to decide who's in and who's out of the tent. And Rob's big clubs particularly have a huge advantage.
Look, I think it's something we've a little concerned with, and we've sort of expressed our concerns to the AFL. We wouldn't want to compromise our ability to bring in talent, to develop teams that compete, but ultimately grow the game.
Jack, pre-COVID, you can see the top coaches are well paid. The problem is with the top coaches on good contracts and someone like David Teague at Carlton on about $450,000, with clubs limited on how much money they can spend on football, so the other 19 or 20 footy staff can get paid something, the senior coach, the top earners, will have to continue to take less this year, even with footy back. They've been generous, but this could test their patience, Jack.
OK, thank you very much, Tom. Now to Adelaide, where the Crows have been punished for breaching AFL training protocols. Theo Duropoulos is at the Adelaide Oval tonight. Good evening, Theo. Assistant coach Ben Hart has copped the toughest penalty.
Good evening, Jack. He certainly has. He's been hit with a 6-week ban for failing to keep players training under the AFL's strict two-man protocols. It means he can't speak to any players or access the club until late June. Now, while Hart is so much a bit of a sacrificial lamb. The players themselves have escaped a serious penalty. All 16 players isolating up at the Novotel in the Barossa have been hit with a 1-game suspended sentence. Now, the reason why the sanctions feel a little light on is the AFL's investigation found that it was just an honest mistake and that the Crows didn't gain any real competitive advantage. But they did put their hand up and say they'd cop any penalty coming their way. It means they don't have a forward line coach for the next 6 weeks, who potentially misses a little portion of the season if we get back underway. All players will complete the remaining week's worth of isolation up in the Barossa until they can come back and get back on the training track. Jackie.
There, Duropoulos in Adelaide, thank you. Swan superstar Lance Buddy Franklin is the big winner from the AFL shutdown, with Sydney confirming the 4-time Coleman medalist has recovered from knee surgery and will line up when games resume.
I mean, he's been running and completing all of the training that we've asked him to, so he's ready to go and looking forward to a restart.
Fellow tall Sam Reid is back running after knee surgery and also in the mix. And Melbourne Storm will leave Albury tomorrow night and return home to Amy Park after the Victorian government eased restrictions. Storm will host its first training session at Amy Park on Thursday. Full team, full contact.
We obviously have had a wonderful time here in Albury, and it's in a way a little bit sad to leave Albury, but we're going back home, so that's always a reason to celebrate.
The club is preparing for the NRL restart on May 28. So, Mitch, expecting to hear from the AFL in the next 2 days, but you can certainly feel like it's getting closer.
Yes, excitement is building, that's for sure. Thank you very much, Jackie. Credit cards are playing an essential role for many households trying to get through these tough times. Providers are now giving those doing it tough some debt breathing space with good deals on offer.
They're tempting, especially when times are tough.
At the height of it, it was probably about $8,500.
Avid traveller David Jackson opted for a balanced transfer, which is moving your debt to a low or no interest credit card.
It's about discipline and being able to pay that off.
Usually this is a year or 2 years, but right now we can see balanced transfer offers in the market up to 26 months.
The catch is, if you make further purchases, the interest rate will hit you hard. But used correctly, balanced transfer is a ladder out of debt. Australians, on average, have $2,909 on credit cards. Finder.com.au has scoured the market for the best 5. Coles is the top pick, saving you $437 on a debt of $2,909 over 18 months. St George Vertigo will save you $371. City Rewards $357 over 26 months. HSBC $330 and Virgin $324.
That helped me in my instance in getting on top of my credit card debt.
You need to pay it off in that period.
Balance transfer, if used right, could be the breathing space you need coming out of COVID-19. Steve Titmus, 7 News.
Jane is next with the forecast. And Jane, what's on the way tomorrow?
Well, Mitch, it's dry all through the day and for much of the evening too. But rain does begin around midnight. The details are next.
This is what the world's been waiting for.
Brand new Britain's Got Talent, Wednesday.
Guess who's on the talent?
Mummy. Hi, Mummy.
Hi, sweetheart.
Proudly fueling Australian hockey fans, big and small. Sultana Bran. Full-on days start with full-on fibre.
Now more than ever, we know what families are going through, so you can pick up lots of specials like 10-pack Nescafe coffee sachets or 8-pack gold sachets, now just $3.15 each. That's half price. We want you to always get your Woolies worth.
That's why I pick Woolies.
Employees of Budget Direct. Over 20 years, you have become the country's most award-winning insurer, providing top-notch cover for more than 3 million Australians. Will you fight to save people on their car and home insurance? Who are you?
Proudly saving Australians on insurance for 20 years. Budget Direct. Insurance solved.
6 Aussie burger meals, thanks.
That'll be $29.90.
Do you have change for 10 million?
You could take away Onsloto's huge $10 million jackpot. Will your numbers bring you a truckload of cash this Tuesday?
Play now in-store at thelot.com or on the Lot app.
At Domain, we want to help you make it yours with our amazing range of customisable Australian-made furniture and bedding. Choose from a range of sizes, fabrics, colours, timber stains and more to create your perfect piece. Make it bold, make it fit, make it yours with our expertise to guide you every step of the way. So come in store and start customising, designing, styling and personalising. We're ready. Make a statement. Make it yours now at Domain.
The Australian government is working hard to keep businesses in business and Australians in jobs. That's why we've introduced the JobKeeper payment. If you're a business severely impacted by the coronavirus, you'll receive a fortnightly payment of $1,500 for each eligible employee to cover their wages. For employees, it will allow millions of Australians to keep their job, including those who've been stood down. To find out more, visit australia.gov.au, authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
A lot of us are spending more time at home. Ow. Using a lot more electricity and internet. Unfortunately, iSelect can't help with your naked partner walking past your big presentation. But we could help shrink those household bills. Now's the time to compare, select and save with iSelect on 13 19 20.
It doesn't matter where you're going if you enjoy getting there. The BMW X1 S-Drive 18i from $49,900 drive away. Joy is coming.
Who is that anyway?
I don't know.
He's a bit of a troublemaker.
Tonight, look who lands in the Bay.
He brings trouble.
Here's your brother.
Tane's caught up in a life when it landed me in jail and my brother did.
Better get used to seeing me around.
Home and Away, next on 7.
This weather report brought to you by the BMW 3 Series.
Hello again. The pleasant sunshine we had this morning was covered by cloud after lunch. We started the day on 8 and as low as 5 in the suburbs. Then we only reached a top of 17. Outside now in the city, it has dropped down to 15 degrees. Winds are westerly, with showers still hitting the far southwest and the southern tip of Gippsland. Otherwise, all dry out there despite cloud building over the southwest half. And it certainly was rather chilly inland at first this morning. There is a high pressure system tracking just to our north. This provides a break from the cold fronts and rain, but the location of that high is just up a little too high for us to stop that cloud. The next cold front arrives here later tomorrow. This front has a source of moisture, so it should produce a band of rain. It crosses the southwest tomorrow afternoon and evening. By midnight, it only just comes into southern parts of Melbourne, Ballarat and Horsham. The rain continues spreading through in the early hours of Wednesday, but then it runs out of oomph. There's not much for the rest of the north and eastern Gippsland. We're dry again through to the weekend. Then the next front arrives on Sunday, but this one weakens as soon as it gets here. It won't be bringing much at all. So in the next week, there's not a lot of rain. Now, most of it falls later Tuesday into Wednesday. The southwest and western Gippsland could see 5, possibly 15 millimetres. Around the nation tomorrow, wet weather only hits the southeast and Cairns, the rest are dry. Brisbane, a mix of sun and cloud, while Sydney has full sunshine. Canberra is -1 at first. Hobart, there are showers developing there in the late morning and afternoon, while those showers hit Adelaide at night. Perth, it's dry, mild and partly cloudy. To Victoria, morning fogs in the east, then a local frost near the eastern ranges. We do have a band of rain spreading through the southwest in the afternoon and evening, but the rest of the state stay dry tomorrow. Closer in and there's bright sunshine at first before a mix of sun and cloud. We are dry all day and for much of the evening, so rain, that'll hit Geelong around 10 p.m, but it won't reach most suburbs until midnight or 1. Then it keeps going through the night. In the city, we start the day on 9 tomorrow before another top of 17. Cloud slowly builds. Now, last year we had 10 May days that reached 20 degrees or higher. This year we've had only 2 so far. And having a look at the outlook shows there is none in our future. So we have turned cold a bit earlier than we saw last year. On Wednesday we've got that rain going through to about 6 or 7 a.m. and then it dries up during the morning. It's all dry by the afternoon, but only 14. 14 under, a lot of cloud but dry on Thursday. Here's our sunny break. Saturday, fantastic. Sunday, we've got some showers moving through just about southern suburbs. So 17 tomorrow, clouds slowly building. Dry all day, then that rain, it arrives on our door about midnight, Mitch.
About midnight. That's just about the time we can go out fishing again. But it's going to be wet.
Exactly, yes. So great timing.
Stay in bed.
I have to get the rod out.
Finally tonight, thank you, Jane. Finally tonight, some of the biggest names in comedy have joined forces from a distance for an online fundraiser. Will Ferrell got things started as the stars thanked essential workers and others.
Shout out to Jigsaw Puzzles, especially those edge pieces. Thanks for getting us started.
The event raised money for food charity Feeding America. Stay classy, Melbourne. And that's the way it is this Monday, the 11th of May. Thanks for your company. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.